Walter White's story is done with a finality that we rarely get on TV or in movies otherwise, right? There's not going to be a sequel series. Sorry if you're listening, you know this already. He's dead. So anything extra, whether it's this or an El Camino, is just like a little grace note, right? It's just like a little running it back, having a little fun. But I just feel like the thing that was exciting for me about the episode was there is a different pulse to a show that is in the present tense.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what's going to happen next. And it's a very, very different way to engage with the show. Now, people who have never wavered the way I have, whether correctly or incorrectly over the past few years, will point out that there has always been a brilliant element of chance and unexpected surprise in the show with characters like Kim or with Nacho. And that's all true. But this show is about Saul, and we are now fully present in it. But these people got to say, like, it's funny. You'd think that even if you had given us, right, on this podcast, if we had done a thought exercise when we were saying, like, well, what's left? Who's left on the board? In any other show or universe, I think we would have correctly been hard pressed to identify characters that could have even carried plot water going forward after the board had been cleared. But I still am embarrassed that even after all this time with these guys, I don't think I would have gotten there after 10 minutes to be like, well, Francesca's still in play. We don't know her story. We're going to spend 10, 15 minutes with her. Or the guy who drove the cab once 2 seasons ago, okay, he's going to be recast, but he's going to matter. You know what I mean? Like, it's elegant. It's Heisenbergian the way they do that, and they get me every time.
I have a couple other questions for you. Carol Burnett seems too significant a casting choice to have it just be drinking schnapps and watching cat videos. And
although Dianu, I mean, come on.
Sure. I mean, and that's awesome. And like, if that is what it is, I mean, obviously she sees Jeff, Gene, and dude we're calling Buddy meeting in a garage. We probably should be like a little bit better at our jobs and find out who that guy is.
It's been suggested. Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
And she has mentioned to Gene himself that the reason why Jeff is living with her is because he got into trouble in Albuquerque and that he fell in with the wrong crowd. So obviously her antenna are up.
Yep.
With Gene kind of acting a little bit funny when he's like, why don't we take these schnapps to go? I want to see this car and everything. So one of the things I'm really enjoying about these last few episodes is that the Felina part of Better Call Saul was Lalo a couple of episodes ago. And it's that whole action set piece of him breaking into the super lab and everything. And now we're getting something completely different. Now we're getting almost like this extended Granite State meets early Better Call Saul of these cons. I do wonder whether or not one dramatic beat is coming, whether it's with this sick guy that Saul is trying to rip off, or it's Carol Burnett's character. It's Marion.
Yeah, I think
before we get to Florida or whatever this sort of
the Marion character is significant, but I don't know whether it's going to be any more than she's onto them, and whatever that means. I'm not sure. There was a lot of this is what's fun about being fully off the map now is that, you know, by there is it's understandable story reasons why the Walt and Jesse cameo was built around Saul's first appearance, both in terms of closing the loop on the character, but also that was an opportunity to fill in some blanks. If anyone had any idea that Bob Odenkirk and Saul would be so integral, that scene that was written for this episode could well have been written 10 plus years ago, but it wasn't. So there's a lot of logic to that. But then the conspiracy brain is like, well, why put Lalo and Ignacio's name back into it? Right. Why remind us that his fear, the driving existential fear of Saul's life once he became Saul, was that these cartel demons would come back to haunt him?
Sure.
Now, do I want that to be the case? I don't know who would even represent those cartels at this point, since they were pretty well and truly wiped out. But it's a thought. It's a question.
There's my favorite moment in the interaction that Jesse and Walter and Saul have in the RV is when they're trying to get the battery to work, the car battery to work. And Saul's like, can you try it again, or are we going to be like entombed here for thousands of years in sand?
Hey, are we going to try that again? Because, or are they going to find us, buried in a sandstorm 1,000 years from now? Just please.
And that's basically the end of Ozymandias, the poem. You know, this idea of these things wiped away by time. And it's going to be hard to reckon with, but also like pretty genius if we get to the end of Saul and that's like the takeaway from the Albuquerque shows is like there are these characters, but their like legacy fades. You know what I mean? And there's almost something perfect about this show being set when it's set, because it's like just fading from memory as like, oh yeah, payphones and Cinnabons and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Saturn sedans. Do you, when you see Cranston come back and play this part, what is your feeling about it? Because I think that I have...
I mean this with no disrespect. He looks better than Aaron Paul does right now. Like because of the way people age, I think the jump from the age Aaron Paul was when he played Jesse Pinkman on the show to now is a more obvious aging than Cranston in the last 10 or 15 years. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think I will probably look very similar from this age to 55 or whatever. But like, I look a lot different than I looked when I was in my 20s.
Yes. I mean, Aaron Paul looks healthy and good, but he is an adult man.
Oh, number one. He looks good. He looks good as shit. But I'm just saying, like, he is an older man pretending to be 19 in this
show. That is the toughest one. So shooting that whole scene at night probably was helpful. My feeling about the Cranston playing Walter White thing again, I think it's different. Like, for me, I don't want to see John Hamm do Don Draper again. I wish Gandolfini was alive to make this choice, but I don't think I'd want to see him do Tony Soprano again. I think there's something beautiful in ending things. But I do have a slightly different feeling about this. Maybe it's because I am more dispassionate about this character or about reunions generally, but I think it's the reason why it's 50%. The story of how much all these people like working together is part of the story of Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. So knowing that Cranston is there to see his friends and his mezcal company partner, Aaron Paul, and like to support Bob Odenkirk on his show and support Vince and Peter and Thomas and all these people, that goodwill carries over onto the screen for me. But the other part of it is Walter White's story is done with a finality that we rarely get on TV or in movies otherwise, right? There's not going to be a sequel series. Sorry if you're listening, you know this already. He's dead. So anything extra, whether it's this or an El Camino, is just like a little grace note, right? It's just like a little running it back, having a little fun. There's never a sense that like, oh, here we go, which I appreciate. But maybe it takes away some of the power, which is why we're kind of underselling something that, or maybe it's why Peter Gould undersold it by announcing it was going to happen. You know what I mean? This didn't feel seismic. It felt nice. Yeah. And I think that's okay.